Welcome to the Intellectual Side Hustle. I am Mucha and I am thrilled to be presenting you with this audiobook. Now, if you already have the book as well, there is going to be a temptation to follow the audio word for word with the book, and I am modifying this audio recording just so it sounds as though you're not sitting and reading, but you're sitting right here with me in the studio, and I'm talking to you one-on-one. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get as much out of it as I have, and let's get started. The Intellectual Side Hustle: How Domain Experts Earn Real Money Training AI by Mucha. Narrated by Mucha. For anyone who has spent years becoming excellent at something, you're about to discover that the world of AI is willing to pay you good money for what you already know. Chapter 1. The Email That Changed Everything. It was a Saturday morning. The kettle was on in my apartment. I opened my laptop for no good reason at all, really. Just the habit of someone who has worked for himself long enough that Saturday morning and Tuesday evening, well, look fairly similar from my standing desk. The email was from a company called Micro One. I should say at that point, I had no idea what Micro One was going to become to me, and how quite literally this organization would change my life. Then, it was just another platform I had signed up to a few weeks earlier, along with many others, because I was trying to work something out. I'd been circling this AI training world for a while. Curious, a little skeptical, a lot intrigued, and mostly wondering whether any of it was genuine enough for someone like me. The email said they'd like to onboard me. My client had been impressed. Was I good to go? And then, a little further down was the line that made me put my coffee down. $150 an hour. Now, I've been in marketing for over 30 years. I've written my fair share of promises, of big ideas. I've seen every flavor of too good to be true. My first instinct, honestly, was to look for the catch. So I read the email again. Then I read the contract, terms, scope, rate, payment cycle, all of it plainly laid out, nothing hidden, nothing strange. 4 days later, Micro One CEO Ali Ansari approved my work, and $600 landed in my account. 4 hours of work. Sit with that for a second. $600 for 4 hours. And about 2 of those 4 hours had been onboarding, setting up, learning the tool. The actual work was more like 2 hours. I reread the payment email 3 times. That first $600 turned out to be the beginning of something way bigger than I'd expected. But I'll come back to the numbers later in the book, in their proper context. For now, I just want you to hold the $600, because it's the number, most like the one you could plausibly earn from your first piece of this work. And it's the number that matters most for what I want to tell you next. Here's the point. I wasn't hired because I knew about artificial intelligence. I was hired because of what I already knew before I ever heard the word. 30 plus years of marketing, client work, campaigns, direct response, the at times boring, often glamorous, yet quite brilliant craft of helping a business get a customer and then keep them. That was the product. That was what I was being paid $150 an hour to bring to the table. The AI didn't need me to become something or someone new. It didn't need me to code. It needed me to be exactly who and what I already was. And if you're reading this thinking, well, that's lovely for you, but I'm not a marketer, then please stay with me. Because it isn't the marketing that matters. It's the fact that I'd spent 30 plus years getting good at something, and a frontier AI lab, through a platform called Micro One, was willing to pay a serious professional rate for access to that experience. Substitute marketing for whatever you've been doing with your life. Law, finance, medical, teaching, accounting, fashion, construction, recruitment, HR, homeworking, learning and development, journalism, health and fitness, translation. You can pretty much name it. Anything at all where you've done the hours, earned the scars, and built the kind of knowledge that only comes from actually doing the work. That is the product. You are the product. There are, however, some misconceptions of AI training. I want to tell you one more thing about that Saturday morning because I think it's the part most people get wrong about this whole industry. Before Micro 1, I'd been doing what's called data labeling, the more basic end of the AI training world, tagging objects and images, folding clothes, flagging tone in a recording, that sort of thing. I'd been doing it for a few months, and to be honest with you, I thought that was the ceiling. Then one day, I was scrolling, and I saw an advert from Aligner for a fashion expert. They needed someone who knew clothes, seasonality, styling, what goes with what would never be worn together, all to help train an AI model. The rate? $150 an hour. I stopped. I'd been fishing in the wrong pond the whole time. I'd been thinking of this industry as a thing you do when you don't have a skill yet. And in one advert, I realized it was the opposite. It was a thing you do because you have a skill, because you've spent 20 years in a profession, because, like my friend Mandy of DJV, you know the difference between a pocket square and a scarf. You can spot an error a generalist like me at times would miss. That fashion advert wasn't for me. I don't know a pocket square from a dishcloth. But the moment was for me. The moment when I understood that the more domain expert you are, the better this works. And having stood on the shoulders of direct marketing giants like Hopkins, Schwartz, Halbert, Benzivenga, Carlton, Kennedy, Kurtz, Brown, Benson, Steve Harrison, and my amazing teacher Drayton Bird, I knew I could do this. Here's what I want you to take from that, right at the top of this book, before anything else. If you are reading this and you think, well, I'm not technical enough for AI, you're reading the wrong story. Because the story isn't that AI needs more technical people. It already has those. The story is that AI now needs experts, people who know things other than AI. People who have spent decades becoming good at something specific. People just like you. The technical folks built the machine. I can pretty much guarantee an expert in a field you are familiar with is now being paid to teach it. Now, before we really get into it, a quick word about what this book is, and more importantly, what it is not. This isn't a get-rich-quick book. If you've read any of those, you know the shape. Bro marketers, a Lamborghini on the cover, a promise you can retire in 90 days, a lot of noise, and very little substance. There's enough of that online already. I've addressed it in my video case study about how much I dislike it. I'm not about to put it in a book. This also isn't a book about AI. I'm not going to teach you how large language models work, and I don't need to, because you don't need to know. I don't. Not at the level that matters for this. What this book is a short, honest walk through something that genuinely works, that is available right now, that pays well, that fits around an existing career or an existing life, and that almost nobody you know is doing yet. It's a book about a real opportunity, aimed at people who are experts at something and don't realize they're sitting on the thing the market most wants. By the time you finish, and it's deliberately short so that'll be sooner than you think, you will know 4 things. Number 1, you'll know what this work actually is without the jargon. Number 2, you'll know why the AI labs are paying serious money for it right now and why the window for being an early mover matters. Number 3, You'll know where to find it. At the time of this recording, there are more than 60 platforms and growing. You'll get access to these together with the ones I suggest you start on. And number 4, you'll know exactly what to do in the next 48 hours to put yourself in the running. That's it. That's the book. No secrets, no upsell, no long road before the useful bit. I want to leave you with one last thing before we move on, because I suspect it's already floating around in the back of your mind. You might be reading this thinking, yeah, Mucha, this sounds good, but why haven't I heard of it? That is exactly the right question. And the answer to it is the reason this book exists at all. A few months ago, I was standing in my local post office. The woman behind the counter mentioned quite matter-of-factly that the branch was closing and she, together with all her colleagues, was being made redundant. She asked, half joking, if I knew of any jobs going. I told her a little bit about what I'd been doing with AI training, that there were roles right now for people with domain knowledge that paid serious money and that she very probably qualified. She looked at me exactly the way you'd expect someone to look at a stranger standing across the post office counter telling them how they could train artificial intelligence. The lady had no idea this existed, but it sounded interesting, particularly money-wise. And that, right there, is the whole problem. Not that the work isn't real. Not that the money isn't real. Not that she wouldn't be good at it. The problem is that the opportunity is forming faster than the awareness of it. The labs know. The platforms know. The few thousand experts like myself already earning from it know. Most of the people who qualify for it haven't heard a word about it. That is the quiet, strange, fixable situation we're in right now. And it is the reason the next chapter matters more than the rest in a way, because it answers the question that sits underneath all of this. Why is this happening? Why now? And why, for the first time in a long time, are some of the most powerful companies in the world willing to pay working professionals, people like me, and almost certainly people like you, this kind of money just to share what they already know? End of chapter 1.